Hello students, welcome to Mentor IAS. In today's session, I am going to discuss one of the important topic related to polity and constitutions, and the name of the topic is center-state relations. But before starting the topic, we should understand that why it is important to see the relations between center and states, or a relations between state and state, or on what grounds, or why it is necessary to study these relations, right. So, we need to understand the reason behind studying the center state relations. So, to understand this, what we need to do is to understand few concepts related to this, that on the basis of that concept, or basis of on what concept you are studying the relations between center and states, or relations between state and state, right. So, in the world, all over the world, the political scientists all over the world has classified the government on the basis of their relations, on the basis of nature of relations between center and states. So, what type of relations, the nature of relations between center and states exist. So, on that relations, the political scientist has classified the government into two types or two forms. That is, the first is an unitary form of government, and the second is federal form of government. So, first we will see this, that what is unitary form of government and what is federal form of government. So, when we talk about the unitary form of government, so unitary form of government means where all the powers were concentrated at the union, all power in the hand of center, which means centralization of power. That is, the power is concentrated at one place. The system in the country is been centralized, all power at the center, right. Like, for example, if you see Britain or France or China, and there are lots of the nations who follow the unitary form of government. So, in these countries, the power, all the powers were concentrated in the center. It means here the center will decide that what form or what type of independence, at what extent the units, if the units exist. Now, when we talk about the units, so units means in some nation it known as a state, or in some nation known as an province. So, if there is any state or province is exist in that state or nations, so what amount of power there will be there for the state or provinces, right. So, in unitary form of government, they do not have an independent nature, they are not independent in functioning, or not sovereign in functionings. So, they are not sovereign, they are not independent to decide about the policies related to that their affairs, their functions. Rather, they will perform only such amount of functions or duties which the center provides to them. So, it depends upon the center that what amount of power, what functions the center provides to the states. This is unitary form of government. Now, when we see the federal form of government, So now what does the federal form of government means? So the term federal is derived from the Latin term, that is foedus. So the term foedus in Latin, which means agreement or treaty. So if we go through the meaning of the foedus, so federalism means the state or the nations is formed through agreement or treaty between the states and center. So in this form of federal form of government, the states come together, independent and sovereign states come together, and they decide that from today onwards we are going to be together forever. So for being together, we required a union. So the formations of the union in federal form of government is based on the agreement made between the states, right? And through these agreements, the states are independent in their sphere and sovereign in their sphere. So both in the federal form, the states and centers are independent and federal in form in their sphere in performance of their duties. And these duties and functions, I should say, the independent nature of the states and the union or the center or the sovereignty is provided through a written document which is known as constitutions. So these type of arrangement between the center and states is not a verbal, rather through a written document which came to be known as an agreement. So agreement means by throwing a binding agreement, and these agreement kept under a legal document which is known as a constitutions. So constitutions under the federal form of government has a provisions which ensures the independent and sovereign nature of units along with the center. So this is the two different political theories related to the form of government, one is unitary form and one is federal form of government. So on the basis of the nature of relations between center and states, so we can come to know that what type of nature is held or is functions in Indian systems. So as we know that the Indian systems is a federal system. India follows a federal form of government. Now again it arises two questions. First, does the union is a product of agreement between the states, or do the states are independent or sovereign in their sphere? So to understand this part, we need to compare the Indian federal systems with the USA federal systems, because USA or American federal system is known as a two federal systems. America follows a two federalisms. Does India also follows a two federalisms? It means all the power characteristic of the federal exist in India, or does it follow the any other form of government or any other form of federal systems? So for to understand this, we need to understand the differences between the Indian federal systems and American federal systems. So first we will compare the Indian federal systems with American federal systems. So Indian federal systems differ from the American federal systems on a three bases, or on three lines we can say that. The first, on the mode of formations. So there is a different mode of formations respect to the USA and also different for the India. Position of states in the federations is also been different in USA and also been different in India, and nature of polity is also different in USA and in India. So we will discuss all of these, and through these discussions on these three model we will find the differences between the Indian federal systems and American federal system by making a comparison between the two, right. So, first we will see the mode of formations. So, if we talk about the mode of formations, so as we know that Article 1 of the Indian Constitution says that India is an union of states. Union of states. Article 1 talks about this. American constitutions also talks about that America is an union of states. But what is the difference? So, here is a difference in the formations of union. So, in case of America, if we see, in case of USA, if we see, so this union in union of states is formed on the basis of, formed by an, or is a product of agreement between states. So, in America the different states they came together and they decide that from now onwards we are going to live together. So, for that we should conclude and come to an agreement, and through this agreement we can say that the states in America are sovereign in nature, But when we see in terms of India, so formations of union in India is not a product of, it is not a product of agreement. So, union in India has not been made by the agreement between the states. So, rather it is subjugations. So, the states has surrendered their sovereignty and accepted India as their union. So, it also means that in USA, where the union is an agreement, through the agreement, mode of formations of the union in through agreement. So, this agreement kept the sovereign nature of the states intact. So, states are independent in their nature. So, they are sovereign in their sphere. But when we talks about the Indian form of union, which is not a product of an agreement. So, through this it means that the states are not sovereign. So, they are not sovereign. So, this is the first difference between the Indian federal systems and American federal systems. Now, if you see the second differences, that is on the form of positions of states in federal systems, right. So, let us discuss this. Position of states in federal system. So, first, how these units are kept, or what is the relations, what are their functions. So, first, if we have already seen that the union formations of union in USA is based on agreement, whereas in India it is not based on agreement. Clear? This we have already seen. So, what does it mean? It means that states in USA are sovereign in nature, whereas states in India are not sovereign. They are not sovereign, they are not completely independent. There is an interventions, there is an you can say that interference of union in the states, a control of the union in the states. How does it, we can say that in India the states are not sovereign, or America there is an states are sovereign. So, we can see that in the USA, when we say that the states are sovereign, it means that residuary power lies with states in America, whereas in India the residuary power lies with parliament or center. Now, residuary power means to legislate on those matters which are not been mentioned in the state or concurrent list. So, who is authorized to make laws on such subject matters which is not mentioned in list? So, in America, if any matter comes to the comes at a concerns and it requires an law on that matter, and if the division is not done, so what will happen? So, the state will make laws respective to that in the America. It shows an independentness of the state, it shows an sovereignty of the states. Whereas, in India, if any such matter arise, so it is an parliament or the union who is authorized by the constitutions to make laws on that matter. So, this is how the states are being sovereign in USA and not sovereign under the Indian constitutions. This is the first. Now, second, if you see that USA follows a dual constitutions policy. Dual constitution policies means there are two constitutions, one for the center or the union, we can say that, one for the union, a constitutions, one for union, a separate constitutions, and another constitution is for the states. And each of these constitutions has a defined functions and performance duties of for the both center and states. But in India, if we see, if in India we can see, so India follows a single constitutions concept. It means that both union and states follows a single constitutions. So, this is the second difference between the USA and Indian federal systems, that it has a single constitutions policies. India follows a single constitutions policies, whereas America follows a dual constitutions policies. So, the second. Now, if you see the third differences, so third differences in terms of division of power. Division of power. Now, division of power, when we talks about that the power of union and states has been divided. It means their functioning, their performance, their duties has been restricted in sphere of their jurisdictions. So, union will be restricted in some matter and the states will be restricted in some matter through the list. So, there is a defined list which says that union will perform certain types of duties only and the states will perform certain types of duties. This is a division of power, means that the power to functions and to power to make laws, regulations, to implement laws and regulations will be restricted to the union and states, right. So, in USA, if we say, if we talk about the division of power, so there we can see that a clear division of power. It means that the union or center does not interfere in the matter of state. Why? Because we have seen that the states are sovereign in their sphere and the union is also sovereign in their sphere. So, being a sovereign state is to decide which policy they want, what type of laws they want, right. So, this in the American federal systems, it is to be decided by the states, and the union in the USA will not going to interfere in the matter. But when we come in the terms of Indian federal systems, in Indian federal systems, though we have a list, right, like 7th schedule which talks about the 3 types of list: union list, state list and concurrent list, where it says that the union will make a laws with respect to the certain matters enumerated into the union list, whereas the state will enumerate or make a laws with respect to the certain matters which comes under the state list. It means we can see a division of power in the Indian federal system also, in the Indian constitutions also. But does it similar to that of USA? No. There is a slight difference in that. And what's the difference is that in India, the center can interfere. Center can interfere in the sphere of state subject matter. And this interference by the center union in the state subject matter is provided through the constitutions. For an example, we can understand that Article 200, through Article 201, it empowers the president to veto, it empowers the president to veto the state bill. A complete absolute veto power is given to the states, that it can put restrictions or it can deny any law made by the state government. This shows that how the center or the union is interfering in the state subject matter, which in America is an sovereign in its nature. Is it clear? Right? This is the third type. Now, if you see the next type, that is the representation of states. So, if you see the next, that is representation of states in upper house, right? So, upper house in America known as Senate, in USA it is known as Senate, and in India it is known as Rajya Sabha. So, this also shows that how the states were represented in center, in the union. Now, why it is necessary to have a representation of states in the union? Because union in a federal systems, the states' voices has to be reached to the union. So, union while formulating any laws, while making any decisions, they have to go through, or they have to have the opinion of the states also, and the states through its representations, they represent in the form of government, they participate in the policy making of union, right? In USA, the states were represented equally, irrespective of their size or populations. As we know that in state there are total 50 states in the USA, right? So, in a Senate there are only 100 seats, which means each state have a 2 members to be represented at the union. So, this shows an equal representations, irrespective of that fact that the one state having a more populations, so it will have more representation. No, this does not follows in the USA. It says that whether you're having a more populations or least populations, whether your geographical size is greater or smaller, does not matter. Each of the state will have an equal representation. So, each state will send only 2 representation to the upper house, that is Senate, also known as states representative, right? But in India, if we come to the Rajya Sabha, so here we can see that the representations of the states, is based on the population of the states, right? So, the numbers in the Rajya Sabha, that is 252 total, varies from 1 to 31. So, some of the states in India have only authorized to send 1 representation to the Rajya Sabha. Some of the states with populous in it, like Uttar Pradesh, sends 31 member to the Rajya Sabha. It means in terms of representations, it is an unequal, states were unequally represented in the union. And then what will happen? What the demerit of unequal representations? So, the voices of the least populous state who send only 1 member to the Rajya Sabha cannot be heard by the government, and the voices of the most populous states can be heard by the government. So, the government will more inclined to those who have a more populations or more representations in the Rajya Sabha. So, this means that this is going to impact the policy in the services. Is it clear? So, this is the representations of states, the different types of how the nature of state in the union. Clear? Now, the next type of the comparison between the American systems and the Indian systems is a nature of polity. So, what nature of polity do they have, right? So, if we discuss the nature of polity, nature of polity has been discussed. The first among this is citizenship. Citizenship. So, we all know that USA has a dual citizenship policy. Dual citizenship policy. Now, what does the dual citizenship policies? So, a citizen of India will carrying the two citizenship, one for the union and one for its respective state, the state to which it belongs. So, it is having a two citizens. It also means the persons having a two citizenship will have loyalty towards the union and also loyalty towards the states. So, they will having a beneficiaries. The states will giving the not only the union, but the state, respective state is also obliged to give them the facilities. That is a dual systems. But when we talk about in India, so in India we know we have a single citizenship policy. Single citizenship policies. What does it mean? It means in India every citizen have only a one citizenship, that is to the union. So, the whether you have been from any states, you have been residing in any states in India, where you have been born in any other states, it does not matter. We all, whether we have been born in any other states, we have been residing in any states for the study or for the professions, we all belongs to the one nations, one citizens, that is a citizens of India. This shows the solidarity, unity, integrity. Right. So, we all as a citizen of India have an obligations, we have a loyalty towards the Union of India, not loyal towards our respective states from which we belong or from where we have been born. This also shows that the concept of regionalism is not going to evolve in India, because being a single citizens, we all been above the regionalisms. Regional. Is it clear? So, this is the first concept under the nature of polity. Now, second, if we see the nature of polity under is that court or judicial system. Judicial system. Again in USA, if we see, so like the division of power between the government, in USA there is a division of power in judiciary also. Division of power in judiciary also. It means the two type of judiciaries will be there. One is federal judiciary, federal court, and another is state court. So, the federal court is restricted only to jurisdictions of the union subject matter. It can only decide or hear the cases related to union subject matter. It will not been allowed to hear or to judge or to invalidate any state laws. For that, the state has a separate court, which is a state courts, and this state court will be subject to or have a jurisdictions related to state matters. So, like the government division of power in the government, the judiciary is also having a division of power in terms of functions or jurisdictions. But when we come to an India, when we see in the Indian context, so judiciary in India have no such division of power, as in the case of government, right? So what does it mean? It means in India the judiciary is integrated. We have an integrated judiciaries. It also means that the court in India, that is Supreme Court, having hierarchy, highest in the hierarchy, then next is High Court in the hierarchy. So judicial system in India is an integrated, is in the form of hierarchy. It also means that whatever the judgment given by the Supreme Court or a High Court shall be binding in the subordinate court. First. Second, the Supreme Court is entitled to nullify, or we can say that invalidate both laws, that is union law and state law also, which is unequal or not unlikely the American